Alright, welcome to the first official video of the Social Theater Project about the Social Theater. I felt like I really needed to explain why it has this title. So, the Social Theater is a pretty complicated concept because it goes to the core of what makes us human. So there's a lot to say about it. There's a lot of different aspects, a lot of different questions that can arise from it. So I really want to just lay down the basics today and really just a very simple as can be introduction to the social theater. And maybe I'll get into it much more later on, but for now we just need the basic introduction. I would say let's just dive into the social theater. So, in short, the social theater is the way we as humans function in the world. And I want to start with illustrating how I get to the idea of the social theater. So, the first observation is that the world is all that exists. And within the world, there's a species of beings that is us, humanity. We exist within the world. But humans can only be in this world in a human way. We can only understand or see or do in a human way. And therefore, that creates a distinction between the real world, in quotation marks, and the human world, and which I like to call the human layer, which makes everything we do a human thing. And I believe this world is not a human world. Anyway, this is not the most important part, but it just goes to show we are limited by our humanity. And within the human layer, there's another distinction. The human layer is humanity's existence within the world. We are in the world, but it is not yet our functioning in the world. And that is where the social theater comes in. Like I said in the beginning, what is the social theater? It is the way we function in this world. So it's not a thing, it's not a real thing, it's a concept. It is the way something works. So how do we function in this world? And in short, that is by creating structures and systems and categories and then living by those structures. So let's dive a little bit deeper into that. Because why do I call it the social theater? First of all, social because it is something humanity does together. It is something that happens in our togetherness, something we use communication for. So in our communication together, there is a social theater. And it's a theater because we play out our daily lives in these structures. So we play out our lives on a created stage. There are ideas of how things should be and how things should go, and we play within those structures and those systems. And because of that, our daily lives are riddled with acting. There's a difference between our true selves and the way we present ourselves or the way we communicate. Another example is self-expression. I can never truly express everything I think and feel. I can never do that with the communication that we have. I can never truly show myself to another person. And that is just the way we work. And that is the way the social theater works. There's a lot of examples of structures and systems to give, and I'll probably go deeper into that in a different video, but the example I usually use is the concept of good and bad, of value, giving value to something. That is something we do in the social theater. That is something we do to function, something practical, because that is what the social theater is. It is the practical part of humanity. I usually use the example of saying that death is bad. In the social theater, so in the way we function, in our practical way of being, that makes a lot of sense. That sentence has meaning. But when you notice that this is a structure, this is a system, then you realize death isn't bad at all. It is only bad within the social theater. So it is only bad when we function, when we say it is, because we say it is. But death outside of the social theater is not bad. Because outside of the social theater, bad doesn't exist at all. Bad and good, value, is something that only exists in the social theater because it is functional. It can categorize reality as we perceive it. It makes it easier to communicate. It makes it easier to function. It makes it easier to live. Those type of things are what build the stage upon which we live, which build the stage of the social theater. And there's so many more structures to name. I can't even get into them all, but social theater is a place of knowledge, a place of meaning, truth, order, logic, reason, money, language. All these things are things we as humans use to understand the world, to categorize it, to function in it. So I hope that gives a little bit of a vision of what the social theater is. And I want to say the social theater is not a bad thing. It is simply the way we work. It is simply the way humans work in this world, how we understand it. But still within the social theater, there's things we find good or bad, things we can change. And that is this is the crucial part of this project and of the social theater. It is changeable. It is malleable. We as humans have the power to create something new or to create something different, to change the social theater, to change the structures in which we live. That's the crucial part of the social theater. That's why I've named the project like this, because it is the key concept in how we function in the world, and it is exactly that thing that we can change, that we can make better. We can make the social theater better than it is. And that is exactly what this project is aiming to do. So when I said I wanted to change the world, what I actually meant was I want to change the social theater, because that is the world that we know. That is the only world that we live in. That's the only world that we can access. So it's not about the human layer or the real world, because we can't do anything with that. Because doing something is only in the social theater. So that is what we can change. And there's so much more I want to say about the social theater, because it's so hard to explain it, because you kind of have to experience it. You have to notice it. So I would say, if there are any questions, or if there's anything you don't agree with or anything you want clarified, don't hesitate to ask. Let's talk about it. But beyond that, try to look around. Try to observe the social theater. Try to look around in your daily lives and see and notice how we live. For now, I'll leave it here. And in the next videos, I'll look at things we can change within the social theater by looking at how things are in the human layer. So I hope to see you there.